Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. За энэ нэвтрүүлгийг энэ Парис хотод хийж байна. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Талес Alenia гэж сансар судлалын томоохон компани, дэлхийн том компаниудын нэг. Энэ компани Экспорт, бодлуулалтаа хариуцсан Дэд Ерөнхийлөгч Эрик, Имберт оролцож байна.
Эрик, Имберт Талес Алена Space корпорацийн Экспорт борлуулалт хариуцсан Дэд Ерөнхийлөгч. 1985 онд Парис Политехникийн их сургууль, 1989 онд үндэсний дэвшилтэт техникийн их сургуулийг тус дүүргэжээ. 1994 онд Харвардын их сургуулийн Кеннедигийн засаглалын сургуульд ахлах албан тушаалтнуудад зориулсан олон улсын аюулгүй байдлын хөтөлбөрт амрагдсан. Францийн батлан хамгаалахын яамны ерөнхий төлөөлөгчийн газарт системийн инженерчлэл, робот техник Франц Америкийн хамтарсан армийн дарба симуляц сүлжээний технологийн Fort Knox, Францийн батлан хамгаалахын яамны ерөнхий төлөөлөгчийн газарт батлан хамгаалахын хөтөлбөрийн удирдлагын албан тушаал, Зүүн өмнөд Азийн бүс нутгийн хамтын ажиллагааны нийгэмлэгийн орнуудын батлан хамгаалахын хамтын ажиллагааны захирал, Бангкок, Сингапур улс дахь Францын элчин сайдын яам, Thales Сингапур компаниг гүйцэтгэх захирал. 2010 оноос хойш Талес Алена Space корпорацийн Экспорт борлуулалт хариуцсан Дэд Ерөнхийлөгчөөр ажиллаж байна.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much for coming this
My pleasure.
session. Let's talk about this company in general, because you are the first, in a way, comer to Mongolia, so we would like to know more about Thales Alenia.
So Thales Alenia Space is the European leader in space activities. We are developing in space for the past 40 years, leveraging on all the domains of space activities. We are a French-Italian company with two shareholders. One is the Thales Group, which is a French group, and also Leonardo, which is an Italian group.
Both state-owned company?
Both having state-owned stakes, but not being state-owned per se.
Completely, I see.
Those are listed companies.
Okay, so it's I understand old company, and what is the main function of the company?
So we are basically present in all the domains of space activities except one domain which we don't touch, which is the launching sector. We do not do launcher, but we are extremely present in all the key compartments of the space domain, telecommunication, remote sensing and observation, space exploration, climate change monitoring, environment monitoring, weather satellites as well, science, man in space as well, and space explorations. So basically we address all the compartment of space domains, and we have been doing this for the past 40 years basically.
40 years.
40 years, yes.
You see, except launching, say there is a world of satellites around the world, which not every country has on satellite. So that means once you are here for the last 40 years, you are giving services to those countries who has no own satellites, right?
Well, basically we are building infrastructures, space infrastructures, and our customers are state organizations, governments, but also private companies.
How far that those satellites are from the surface of the Earth?
Well, orbits in space are determined by the laws of physics, and basically you have various orbits that you can envisage. You have the very low Earth orbit, which is a few hundred kilometers above the surface of the Earth. One example is the International Space Stations, for instance, which, by the way, we've been producing more than 50% of the pressurized modules of the ISS. When you go a little bit higher, you have what we call LEO, low Earth orbit satellites, which orbit around the Earth at let's say 500 to 1,200 kilometers. then you can go a little bit higher in the medium Earth orbit in the range of 15 to 20,000 kilometers, and this is where you find the navigation satellites like Galileo, GPS, Beidou, GLONASS, and so forth. And then you reach the geostationary orbit, where the satellite rotates around the Earth at the same speed as the Earth is rotating around its axis. So therefore the satellite is seen stationary from the Earth's surface, and this is what we call the geostationary satellite.
How many kilometers from there?
36,000.
36,000 kilometers.
Yes, and then after that you go on orbits that go beyond the Earth, and this is the space exploration type of spacecraft that are considered.
So you are producing those equipments
Yes.
of the satellites,
Yes,
which goes either with the Earth or faster than the Earth.
yes, exactly.
Whatever it depends, right?
But definitely it depends on the mission of the satellites. If, let's say, a government wants to have a satellite that monitor and take pictures of the surface of the Earth, then you will have LEO, low Earth orbit satellites that rotates around the Earth. If you want to do telecommunication from a country perspective with a sovereign asset, then you will put your satellite 36,000 kilometers above the Earth, geostationary orbit,
Which is moving together
together with the Earth.
At-
Exactly.
at that country. Together,
Yes.
it goes all together.
Yes.
And why is that so important nowadays to have on satellite for a developing country?
Well, this is not for developing countries. For all countries, at some point, you need to have your own sovereign asset. And the recent crisis around the world demonstrates that you need to control your own means of communications. Satellite communication is complementary to on-ground telecommunication, whether 5G, 4G, cellular telecommunications, or fiber networks. But at some point, you may have earthquakes, you may have unintentional or intentional breakage of those terrestrial means, and definitely satellite is the safety net of communication for a given country.
Kind of alternative.
It's the ultimate safety net,
Safety net.
if you want. And at the same time, because of the nature of the satellite, being so high above the Earth, you can immediately, with just one satellite and therefore one launch of one satellite, address in terms of coverage the whole surface of the country.
And a country like Mongolia, who has not owned satellites so far, renting in a way services of a particular satellite from other countries or other companies.
Both are complementary. It's not because you have your own satellite that you cannot rent services. But for instance, when it comes to deploying public policies, let's say education, e-medicine, e-government services, whatsoever, you want to, as a state, you want to be sure that those critical communications are handled by a satellite that you control from Mongolia, with gateways in Mongolia and with Mongolian operators, because at the end of the day, those are services that are meant for the people of the country, served by people from the country, with guidelines from the country. So it makes sense. At the same time, from a commercial perspective, you can complement those means, which are sovereign means, by alternative solution, by renting capacity on other satellites. There are plenty of commercial satellite available which are providing commercial services as well. So those are not one in opposition to the other one. They are really complementary. the same way space telecommunication is complementary to terrestrial communications.
How your company, Thales, a company, been cooperating with developing countries like Mongolia, for example, in any case that where you can share some experiences?
Well, you see, all countries around the world have plans for improving communications to better serve the people. And Mongolia have had such a plan for many years. And when it was published back a decade ago, I guess, we read that Mongolia was indeed considering a satellite communication system. So we went to Mongolia, and I have been personally visiting Mongolia on numerous occasions for the past many years. And this is the way we develop relations with all the countries around the world, because they have their own vision of deployment, of improving the digital economy, the communication for the service of the people. And this is how, from a company perspective, we do our business development activity, by being attuned to what's happening in the world and visiting and presenting what we can offer and developing relations.
So for a country like Mongolia with huge land, few people, to bring connection to everybody all around the country is hard work and expensive work. And cost-wise, economies, how effective is this kind of satellite communication for Mongolia, where we cannot make cable to every corner?
This is the calculation or the computation that basically every country does, and the larger the geography of the country is, the more efficient is satellite communication, because satellite has the power to address the whole territory at once. So this is a calculation that has been to be made, and what is happening in Mongolia is basically happening all around the world, and in particularly in large countries.
Say we have satellite at 36,000 kilometers away, and with that satellite we can explore, as many other countries do, surface explore. Can we go deeper? It's geological kind of.
Well, satellites are basically designed to carry a certain mission. A satellite is made basically of what we call a bus, which is like a vehicle, and on top of the vehicle you put a quote-unquote a mission payload that does the job. And if a satellite is designed to do telecommunication, it won't be able to do Earth observation, for instance.
The one Mongolia has in mind now, in cooperation with you are doing some visibility study together.
It's telecommunication.
What is that?
Telecommunication.
Telecommunication.
But at some point, and there are plenty of reasons to do so, I wouldn't be surprised that, like many other countries in the region, but all around the world do, there may be an interest as well for other applications, like Earth observation. Earth observation is very important to understand the environment, to measure the impact of human life on the environment, but also to monitor.
With the same with the same satellite?
No, with different satellites.
Okay, so, but how can we use the same satellite? We'll have one. Then can we modify that satellite?
No, because that's the other aspect of space. Once the satellite is launched, it's almost impossible to go and change it.
Okay.
You can do remotely, control the satellite, maybe have some software patches whatsoever, but you don't change the mission when it's sent 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. No way to go and fix it and change it.
So we need another satellite for
So
that.
you need another satellite.
See, that's it turns together with Mongolia at the
Yes.
same level. So not to send another satellite, let's say we do the second one, can we put it nearby, or how does it work?
Well, then you get into the complexities of the space domain. You have a body, an international body, which is related to the United Nations organization, by the way, which controls the way satellites operate and behave in space.
Certain rules.
And guidelines, and you need to respect those, because if a satellite at a given position emits in radio frequencies in such a way that it jeopardizes the communication of nearby satellites, then you have the cause of conflicts between.
So that means each country has own certain space.
Exactly, it's like a piece of real estate that you own in space, and the rules governing this piece of real estate is set by a body which is called the International Telecommunication Union, which is based in Geneva. ITU, exactly, and that's the way it goes.
So having said that, if we don't have on space on this spectrum or on real estate, it may have nearby other satellites which will have a more chance to intervene into this
exactly.
spaces.
Yeah. So all this is extremely precisely monitored and governed, and basically Mongolia has a piece of real estate in space, which is attributed to Mongolia by the ITU, and I understand that this is the one that you are considering to put your telecommunication satellite on it, basically.
So then how you can, as a large player in this space domain, as you said, can contribute towards this wish of Mongolians to have on satellite? What you can do it?
This is our day-to-day business, and we've done it with many countries, basically. Supporting what we call a new entrant nation in the field of space to follow the right path, to ensure that it has, at the end of the day, a space asset that works along the lines of the rules that are enforced in
so
the world of space.
So we need to make this facility called satellite, right? Certain equipment. And do you help us to produce that equipment, or I understand not launching, but
the spacecraft, because of the nature of the object, which is sent in space for many years without being able to get intervention, like on your car, for instance, or your motorbike, or whatever.
Cannot go and
you cannot
repair
go.
it.
Those systems are produced following extreme precise methodologies. So, for instance, when the satellite is being constructed, at the end of the construction process, it goes through a series of testing which are extremely demanding, extremely exacting, in order to make sure that the spacecraft, once launched and once in orbit, will resist the change of temperatures, which are dramatic in space, from minus 100 to plus 100, because the change of temperatures during the day are enormous. So we check it before.
Plus minus 100.
We put the satellites on extreme test for vibration, for instance, because I suppose that you've seen launch of satellites. It's extremely violent, it's extremely powerful, very shaking, and the satellite, which is an extremely complex and fragile object, has to withstand this launch period. So in our facilities we have huge means of testing.
You have 17 plants throughout Europe.
Yes. And we put those satellites under extreme tests in order to make sure that they will withstand the launch.
How big is that physically to be?
Well, a satellite can be, you have small observation satellites which are few 100 kilograms, like 200 kilograms, and you have big telecommunication satellites which are many tons. So you have a big spectrum.
What does the possibly Mongolians have in mind? How big? 10, 20 tons, kilos?
It will be, it could be, it should be probably a medium-sized satellite.
Which is?
A few tons.
Few tons. Okay, few tons. And physically, how big? 1 meter, 2 meter, 5 meter?
It's a couple of meters. It's
at least. The stables.
Oh no. It's way bigger than this.
Way bigger.
Well,
Then spread out.
Then it's spread out, exactly.
Wings,
yes.
which will
those are not wings, actually. Those are solar panels, and then you have antenna deployment, of course. So this is
just a few words about launching. You said you are not launching. Who is launching? I mean, who will bring that all the way to the orbit like this?
Well, that would be the choice of Mongolia, of course, and
I mean, in the world, who is doing that?
Well, you have Europe, which is launching from Kourou in French Guiana with a company called Arianespace. You have a US company called SpaceX. You have the Indian ISRO. You have the Japanese. Who are launching as well, and you have plenty of for smaller satellites. Those are for the big satellites, but for smaller satellites you have plenty of startups which are producing smaller launchers that can send.
So once you get ready the satellite itself, then we need to negotiate with all those service providers who will take it out, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, as your company, as a Thales Group, helping us to make that satellite, or how do you see the cooperation with Mongolia?
Well, I think the beauty of space is that it's such an attraction for the youth all over the world that once you have a space program, it's important that you make the best use of the space program to take place to attract the young and the brightest student into science and technology.
Yes.
And this is a magnet. So definitely, when you have a space program, you should use it to bring on board young engineers, to train them into space technologies or space-related technologies. And usually this is very successful. And we are very keen, and we do it with. We've done it with a number of countries. Bring those young and bright engineers into a training program to make sure that there are a transfer of competences, a transfer of knowledge, so that down the road the country who is our customer begin to become more and more self-standing and autonomous in those technologies. So this is something that definitely needs to be considered.
Yeah, and this is not only making the satellite due to the parameter we want, but also to have a human resources,
exactly,
to have this training, etc. So you consider all these aspects.
Well, usually
with Mongolia,
we usually this is something which is requested by our customers. They want to make the best use of this to.
What is the country that is of our size, possibly also our land, though it's not many, but you have been doing a successful cooperation?
I think there is not a single continent where we don't have this kind of relations.
All right, so you have great experiences.
Yeah.
Well, that was extremely important and interesting to talk about this future thing for us, and very happy to know more about what you do and your perspective about possibly satellite communication of Mongolia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.